Why you shouldn't beat your child from the space of your life choices. We've all saw the resurfaced 3-year-old video of Brittany Thomas disciplining, and I use that term loosely, her child at school. The little boy was being dragged and she was cussing him out, calling him the N-word and spanking him with a belt while everybody looked around shocked about it. So what got me to wanting to speak on this subject was some of the commentary I've seen surrounding it, especially in the Black community. One of the things that we always talk about and we equate to making sure you don't spoil your kid or discipline your kid is always Proverbs. You know, spare the rod, spoil the child, or you have to discipline. Now, one time, can you tell me God meant for you to whoop a child's ass like a stranger? Who stole your money? Now, one time that God said to even put your hand on a child. So when people use that scripture, I'm like, do you understand its meaning? It means teach your child the ways so they can be disciplined in all things that they do. Meaning give, especially in this day and age, give your child emotional intelligence, critical thinking skills to be able to articulate why they're acting out. But one of the things that I find so aggravating with the Black community is that we are so quick to justify this woman beating her child the way she did, because we need to learn terminology between a beating and a spanking. Spanking is using appropriate ways, love, when you're disciplining a child, in my opinion, because I have spanked my children. I have 3, 21, 19, and 16. And I literally can count on one hand how many times I've disciplined them total, maybe 5, if that, because I didn't want to rely on physical abuse or spankings to get my point across to my children, because the reason they're acting out, what's going on. I'm going to talk to you because I want you to be able to articulate yourself and not just have to use your hands. And so we look at this and Black people say, oh, it's okay. You know, you got to discipline your child. You can't spoil the rod. Well, at the same time, they don't agree with the verbiage she used, because she was just basically going out and out street talk. But if you listen to this woman, when they talked to her and when the judge spoke to her, or when she did interviews, that she was like, that's how she talks. And she did it from a place in her mind of love. She was a 30-year-old woman at the time. She's 33 now. And she had 5 children, all ranging from 12 to 1, with no father figure around. So she took on that onus. But the main thing that you got to see when women, especially, and parents that do this, sometimes you see the father, they're beating these kids like this out of frustration for their life choices, out of frustration for the things they can't do, out of frustration for the things they can't control. And they're taking it out on a child who's simply acting and reflecting themselves back to them. Your kids are a reflection of you. And I'll give y'all a short story in regards to this. Me and my 3 children was at the store one day. And this little boy asked his mom for a candy, as kids do. And she went off cussing him out, saying, why you ask me? I told you don't ask me for shit, and going off on his child. And my 3 kids are looking at her like she is crazy. And then they're looking at me and I'm looking at her, and all I could think of was like, you're pissed off about your life. So you taking it out on a child who asks you a simple childlike thing is for something sweet, because you probably got a deadbeat ass daddy. You probably got a low type of job and you frustrated at the job. You ain't getting no help. You're not getting the love and care that you need to nurture you. So you're getting and pissed off because you don't even know how to deal with it. You don't know how to respond to it in a better way. And you're taking it out on the child. The main thing my parents used to say, and all of us Xers and baby boomers, what did our parents used to tell us when we go to school? Don't make me have to come to the school and leave my job. The main thing that was important to your parents at that time was not missing out on any money, because they need their money to take care of you. So the minute you have to make me leave my job to come discipline you, I'm going to wear your ass out. So that's all we need to hear. Like, we don't want them coming up there, because they basically said, I'm going to lose money coming to deal with you. And I'm already frustrated. I'm already doing the things I need to do. I'm already being a person I need to be for you. Why can't you just be good in school? And some of us got disciplined in school because we were bored, or we didn't understand that we were too smart for the grades and we were bored, or we just wanted attention, or we just wanted to act out. So our parents didn't know to talk to us about this. All they knew is you acting out and I'm busy doing and trying to be there for you and do what I got to do, and nobody helping me, and I'm silently depressed, because that's Generation X's and Boomers. They didn't know to talk about their problems. Shit, you swallowed it. We still swallowing a lot of it now, even though a lot of us is getting therapy. But when we want to justify what this woman did as discipline, as Xers, and even some millennials, this was not discipline. This was straight up abuse. Because there's a way to discipline your child, and it should make sure your child knows it's coming from a space of love versus wearing your child ass out. Beating him from the top of his head to his goddamn behind with a belt, and then calling him the N-word and low-rating him. All he's going to do is reflect that back. Because sometimes when you punish your child in these ways, a couple of things happen. They're not going to learn. They just learn to get sneakier so they don't get caught. You understand me? Or they learn to hate you, or they learn that's the way they need to communicate with their fists, with aggressive words, without love being attached to it. And then you wonder why you do have these. She had good intentions. She said, I don't want my kids to be like these black men in the street, dying in the street. I'm his mother and his father. Yeah, I went overboard. But there was no healthy love behind that because she didn't probably have any. You talking about a woman who was 30 years old with 5 children and probably started at 17 or 18 trying to find love. And all we know is all her kids end up in foster care. Her kids went to foster care. I don't know what happened. If anybody knows, what happened to her recently, please share. Hopefully it's positive. But all her kids went to foster care, meaning they had no fathers that can take them. So when people want to talk about the single mothers that's going around, we have a due diligence to make sure we look at the people we're sleeping with, for not just for if we get them pregnant, but also for our spiritual and our mental energy. A lot of y'all around here giving people y'all seeds and giving people y'all sperm who you don't know what their mental issues are. You don't know what kind of person this will be, but you around here laying out with them and not in them because you ain't got no responsibility. You're going to leave that on them. But then we want to justify the abuse and call it punish. We want to call it discipline. That's not discipline. If it's without love, if it's not positive correction for your child to be better, that's not it. And I want black people to stop that bullshit. What we do difference from abuse and spanking, and stop using the Bible, because he said teach your child discipline, meaning ways to make them better, not your physical hands always on your child. But until we understand that we're going to keep having people that don't know how to critical think, have no emotional intelligence, or be able to articulate anything past fist and argument and loud. You know how many black men I know who don't want to date black women because their mother was loud, because their mother was opinionated and strong-willed, because they didn't have a balance of their father's voice. Or you know how many fathers took out their frustration and try to figure out who they are and what they want to do with themselves and overreacted when their children act up. And then you got to apologize because you don't have the tools. At some point, you have to realize you have to get the tools to be emotionally respectful of yourself so you can do that to your child. I learned and had to teach myself not to respond the way I wanted to respond when my kids were little and would do certain things. Like I didn't cuss at my kids. I didn't jack my kids up. Like I said, I spanked them a couple times, maybe 5 for 3 kids through their whole lives. And I was like, I don't ever want my kids to not know how to basically tell me what's going on. And I didn't want my kids to always associate me with physical, mental abuse. I didn't want to do that. Do you understand there was a study Harvard did of children who were spanked versus children who wasn't? And the parts of the brain for the children who were spanked lit up when they saw certain faces, like a frown, even a smile or a smirk. It taught them to be more aware and more scared or more alert to danger. And I realized that's a lot of black people. That's probably how we go to a party or we go somewhere. We say, oh, something up, something going on. We sense it more. Or we always looking for the other shoe to fall. Or we're always looking at, something up with that person, something going on. We're always looking for the threat because we were spanked into always basically trying to be good people. So when you're punished like that, your brain always attributes that look or that feeling to a threat. And you got to be in hyper awareness. We already got the stuff going on in the world between racism and colonialism and everything else. And now on top of that, the way our parents thought they were raising us to be better people got us in a threat mode all the time. And when you even look at when we all want to tribute, Joe Jackson beating his kids and like, but look how great the Jackson 5 was. Really? Really? When you sit there and look at the mental abuse or the mental issues these people have, even as adults, yeah, they might have been great on paper with money and fame and their talent, but look at the mental that came with the abuse their father had. That was more wrapped up. And especially we had mothers who let their fathers beat the kids like that. I'm letting him be a daddy. He got to do what he got to do. They was bad children. And so they like, no, I ain't gonna let him now. He beating them too much. And then they'll go save the kid. You had some black people beating their kids like damn near slaves against walls with belts and tree branches and shit. You know what I mean? And call that discipline because that's what they knew. And that's why we can forgive our parents and everything else because they was only going about what they knew. But the fact is, we don't have that excuse anymore. We have way too much knowledge. We have way too many mechanisms that we can be better for our children. And this woman needed guidance more than she needed her kids being put in a foster home. And that's what they said. CPS, according to what I read, is they're supposed to give her counseling and how to be a parent, better parent, and counseling, hopefully for herself. Because obviously what she was raised in that environment got her to a space of where she was having these 5 children and having to be the mother and the father and probably probably working some low-wage piece of job while trying to keep them out of trouble at the same time. And that's a lot on any parent, much less one who is literally in survival mode constantly. So what I want us to get out of justifying these type of beatings, not a spanking, a beating, because like I said, punishment is punishment. But you have to have punishment with discipline, and then avenues to say, how can you be better? What's going on with you? Now, can your child still act up? Hell yeah, even with you being the most loving parent. But that's why you put enough in them till you hope one day, like the Bible even tells you, they'll come back to how you raised them. They'll be the people you raised them. But if you raise them in a basic survival mode or a painful mode or a threat mode, that's all you got. And then you wonder why they don't know how to express themselves. Why these young boys out here fighting and in jail and mad. Or why these girls so hypersexualized and trying to cling to everything with love or fighting in the street. Because all you know is violence in some form or another. Even from the person who says they love you and they're doing it for the right reasons. And the justification when you get older and be a better person or a good person or successful, they'll be like, oh, you didn't die though. I might have beat you, but you didn't die though. But now I'm emotionally stunted. Because I look at you a different way. I look at other people a different way. We have to do better by everyone that's in our Black community especially. But even if you outside that community, do better by looking at these young girls who's struggling with these kids. Get them in mentorship programs. Get them before they get to the space of having to wear their child ass out because they stressed out. Get yourself in a better position. All that TikTok y'all watching and you're going to all these, let me find my tribe, I'm stressed out. Instead of popping your ass, get on a TikTok video that's telling you how to center yourself to be a little more emotionally intelligent, more spiritually peaceful, and physically healthy. Because a lot of that, you're eating crap, you're smoking crap, trying to dull your senses. As J. Cole said, you self-medicating on weed. Our parents self-medicate on alcohol and other stuff, but we didn't understand that. But now we do, and there's no excuse. So I hope Brittany Thomas is thriving and her kids are doing well at this point. But we are in 2023, and I need y'all to stop as Black people making excuses that abuse attributes the same thing as a spanking or a discipline to a child without love, without understanding, and without the fortitude for them to be better. And I hope you get this in a space of love. And thank you for joining us. Is why you shouldn't.